Welcome to the Synapse Philosophy Group, everyone. I am excited to be back on BJ's Palmer's last book, Our Masterpiece. It has been really a good read, and I'm enjoying reading it with all of you. And we're on page 32 at the second paragraph. And I'm going to start here, and we're going to discuss it like we do. And I want to say today, I had a couple of students come in from Palmer. I gave them a Zenith high-low that I had. It was gifted to me. I passed it forward. And it was great meeting these guys today and showing them a little bit adjusting. And it's great to see chiropractic really is shining bright with the students. And that's around the world. Palmer, I'm fortunate to have close to me. And it was great seeing that. So I just want to give those guys some props today. All right. Page 32, Our Masterpiece, second paragraph. And who converts who? Does chiropractic prove itself? When chiropractors take sick cases and their philosophy, science, and art, as is, of uniting the triune relations in living people by adjusting vertebral subluxations, convince the people at large, millions of them, of the rightness of their method. Or who must all of our profession first sit idly back and wait for foreign groups, to our field of thought and labor, who are conversant with little of it, so they don't understand it. Why have groups, methodically take it apart when they don't understand it? To tell the world that we have been right with those premises and results which have been proven for years. Is it for them to convince us or we to convince them? Do they teach us what chiropractic is, what it does, and how? Or do we teach them, if we must teach them what chiropractic is before they are ready to begin, to get ready, to commence, to start? Why the duplication to them, hand back to us? Later, we already know and gave them. All right, that's a mouthful and choppy, but that's it. Who are we waiting for chiropractic to be proven to, and who are we trying to prove? Or waiting for them to prove it to us, right? This evidence-based garbage. It is evidence-based since 1895. What do you guys think?
Well, he's building the case through this whole section here, all the way to the end of this chapter, that that we need to be telling the story is the bottom line. That it's for us to do our own research based on living things and not be dependent on. And what's going to happen if they start to do the research? Well, they're going to say, well, it's not real. They're going to say,
we've done the research in chiropractic.
Right. We've done research, and why should we ask them to validate what we already know? We have to teach them what we know.
I was just thank you for that. Exactly. It's to stand up on our ground of who we are. I was just listening to an old, one time it was a tape, okay, but on a CD of Dr. Richard Santo. And he was saying, this was a DE talk, and he was saying chiropractic is the #2 healthcare system in the world. And, we have been happy at this #2 thing, and it's time for us to be #1. And, standing up of who we are, what we do, what we're meant to do, and I feel also our spiritual nature. And listening to that from Dick Santo, I think I posted it, as a matter of fact, on this page, or if I haven't, I'm going to do it today. It is so powerful, really. And we need to pull up our big boy pants and our big girl pants and get out there and teach the world chiropractic. What we know to be true.
That's analogous to something that Joe Felicia used to teach at the Renaissance seminars. And he said, Coca-Cola was the #1 drink in the world. Now he's talking about it back in the 80s, and Coca-Cola was bigger than everything else, even Pepsi. And He says, but then 7-Up came along. And they said, well, if we get on the soda ladder with Coke, we're never going to be number one. So what did they do? They said, we're the Uncola,
yeah,
right? They made a new place for themselves. They said, we're this, we're not that. And they said, we're the Uncola. And they became very popular as a separate and distinct entity. And that's what we started out doing, and we seem to have lost some of that, but that's what we need to do. We're not medicine. We shouldn't be trying to be medicine. And, it is confusing when you think about all this stuff he talks about in here about heal this, heal that, heal the sick, but the purpose is not to heal the sick. That's a consequence, a secondary, a side effect, if you will, of allowing the body to heal and do its job and making people and allowing people to be healthy and express health. And that's what does the healing. They get well. Yeah, the sick get well, but that's not what we're trying to do. That's not the purpose in what we do.
That's the difference of a treatment to an adjustment. You treat the sickness, you adjust the person, and the body heals itself. That is the basic premise of chiropractic itself. You're on target, Alan. That was absolutely right. Bob, go ahead.
Yeah, I always felt like chiropractic is the most advanced, I don't know if you want to call it healthcare system in the world, but system of care that I have for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Because it completely acknowledges the innate intelligence. And once it does that, and once that becomes our compadre, our partner in this whole thing, then we are just working with the greatest, most wise, most intelligent thought processes in the world. And so what could be more advanced than that?
The creator of the cosmos, right? That's what I'm hearing. And that's what we're really talking about when we give honor to something greater than what we are. And that's what chiropractic really does. And, I can't heal you. Your body heals yourself. Like Sigafu said, I move the bone, God does the healing. And that's our innate, our spirit, our life. And, that is what really makes us so separate and distinct is the philosophy. Thanks for that, Bob. Absolutely. Right on target.
This is something that a friend of mine, Peter Heffernan, who I used to teach for a while for Ron Aragona and Applied Spinal Biomechanical Engineering. I taught the intro seminar for them for a while. And Pete was in charge of the instructors. And I don't remember where this appeared first online here, but Pete posted this yesterday. It says, we chiropractors are charged with a single task. We are physical beings with the ability to influence matter, energy, space, and time. Innate needs constructive partners in the physical world to accentuate the parameters of adaptation for humans, animals, and plants. Innate chiropractors have the consciousness to participate in this vocational process.
Wow. Can you send me a copy of that? That's beautiful.
Yeah, he's quoting himself, and I asked permission to be able to share that and give attribution. So, but I will absolutely send that to you, and before I repost it someplace else or post it to the website, I'll send it to you, but I'll post it to the website as soon as I get permission from him.
Thank you. I mean,
I'm sure he will, but I'm being polite.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's where getting back and talking about the true nature of who we are and telling our people those things. I have a woman and, she's a lovely lady and, she's constantly, oh, this is so terrible. And, she no longer complains about her sciatic pain. Now it's something else. And I said, you are better. Oh my gosh, you couldn't stand up without vertigo. You're dragging your leg behind you, your arms like this, and you come walking in and telling me, oh, this hurts, and you're all moving around, not dizzy anymore. But she just couldn't see that she's better, and she couldn't say the words. Wouldn't come out of her. but people are living with that level of conditioning. That's conditioning. I mean, brainwashing. Let's put it in that sense.
But it's also a factor of that's how people get. Some people don't get enough attention, and that's how
Very
they get
important.
attention. Their pain makes people pay attention to them. Their disease, their runny nose, or whatever. How are you doing today? Are you sick? Are you doing? How are you? You know, it makes people pay attention and show them love and attention. And that is why a lot of people can't let go of their symptoms.
Oh yeah.
Because that's how they're getting love.
Yeah. Yeah.
On some pitiful level.
I know. I mean,
but that's what it is.
And that's how they've been conditioned. I look at it in that way. It's like programming, right? And it's hard to break that out of that person. You know, how do you do that? Yeah, that's
just got to keep loving them up.
Just keep loving them up. You got something, Bob?
Must be hot in Jersey. Bob's got his shirt off.
Yeah. Well, it was hot today. Yeah, you know, when you're around groups of people who are not chiropractic people, the conversation seems to fall to that, like on a regular basis. People complaining about their health conditions and the doctors they're going to see and all that stuff. I don't know, it's always been kind of strange to me, but it's very common for most people.
Yeah. I think that's the weirdest thing. I went to, there's a little Italian restaurant by my office, and I sat down just to be alone a little bit, do some writing. And, you know, I hear the booth behind me. She's complaining about this. This next one's got her shoulder surgery scheduled. And it's like, oh my gosh, these people have nothing else to talk about. And, you know, the same lady I was talking about before, she's like, oh, this shoulder I did in 2012, that shoulder is 2014. And maybe I'll do my neck in 2023. I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, you're 75 years old. You're going to be a bionic woman in no time, you know? That's called a cyborg. Well, we got to love them no matter what. You got to love them and try and teach them. I got frustrated today. I was like, I just want to shake you. You're 71 pounds, this little woman. You're better. Anyway, that was my moment. Go ahead, Rob.
I think another thing that I'm sure we've all thought of before, I'm not saying we've overlooked, but I'll bring it up now, is, you know, they need an excuse to come in.
Yeah.
True.
And you know, on a spiritual level, what they're getting is way beyond what they may even be conscious of. But that physical excuse to come in is maybe what got them there. So it really could be a spiritual prompting inside of them that's even getting them to come get their adjustments.
You know, that's the most wise thing we've all said. Thank you very much, Bob, because you're right. That's really how we think. And, you know, we have these moments of frustration, but in reality, there are no accidents, right? You know, that you're right on target. Thank you for that. Thank you for the grounding in that, Bob. Excellent. Should we move on?
Yes.
Okay.
Say, Bob, you got to be like that dog in Transylvania there.
Hi, Bob. I love that. I love that. That's that movie. I just think is hilarious. My kids watch it all the time. All right. The rebuttal will answer these questions, but saying they will be their scientific instrumentation and research will convince the great world outside world, who won't believe that we believe any more than the world at large will believe them when they get through. Did Bell, Wright brothers, Edison, Ford, and other original thinkers convince them they were right by giving them to go ahead the go ahead signal? Or did those men and many others forget
Forge
ahead?
ahead. That's a typo.
That is a typo. Forge ahead in spite of doubting Thomases. Now that's a huge one. And I got to say, even innate adjusting and doing this, and, you know, you get all the doubting Thomases, and, you know, we've got it, even opening the office. I had people, oh, that's not a good spot. You shouldn't do it there, blah, blah, blah. And we get these things. And you know what? If you spiritually, like Bob said, know it's right and it's right and it's right, just you do it and forge ahead. I'm marking that one right there too. Anybody else? Carol and Bob, you guys froze a little bit. Why don't you, can you mind reading, Alan?
No problem.
My tongue's all twisted up from these.
All right, so we're at the bottom of 32.
Yeah.
One knows of no way to scientifically researching any one philosophy, science, or art independent of other two. And that is any one, that being one philosophy, science, or art independent of the other two of those three items, and come out with an overall conclusive and factual knowledge of how man was systematically organized. What organized him? Why he was produced as is, and for what purpose? Why he is here at all by himself, for himself, internally and externally, to act and react, receive and reject environment as it helps or hurts him, his present and future. As well say, there is only day, no night, all cold, no heat, all sea, no land. These and many other factors are one composite, invisible, indivisible whole. The anatomist scientifically researches dissection, all man's physical parts. The chemist scientifically researches chemistry, the fluids of matter. Physician scientifically looks at matter, assembles heterogeneous mass of hoped-for systems and symptoms and pathologies of matter, gives them a material name, prescribes matter to cure, and fails dismally all along the line. The church, psychologist, mentalist, scientifically researches Bible, God, soul, spirit, ego, personality, sane and insane. Then the three get their scientific researches piecing them together. And what result? Medical men, with medical profession, with materia medica, from outside in, below upward for 5,000 years, has failed to do what Tick alone has done since 1895. As a result, they come out with the Great Divide, things spiritual to churches of all denominations, with sectional sects, creeds, and conflicts. Physician, that is physic, IANS, physician, of material schools, with theoretical, inconsistent trials by errors, no permanency, hit or miss, I give him this, east is west and west is west, and ne'er the twain shall meet. Services abstract, with electric companies and telephone companies render. Without this, they're out of business. With it, they're in service, with it they are in. Service is the unity of three elements: a telephone, sending a voice over the wire for action, receiving telephone response, both afferent and efferent, and through the central. Here is a simple comparison. We can scientifically research a globe. I think by that he's talking about a light bulb. We can scientifically research electricity. Of what use is the globe without electricity? Of what use are they when together? Why? To better use both to produce more light, and with less electricity through a better globe. All form a unity. All unite to produce one ultimate result, which no one alone could accomplish. The only only all-triune chiropractic research that has ever been made in our profession, we here at the PSC established with our electroencephalon neuromentympograph.
Let's pause.
Let us pause.
Let's pause. Let's pause at the pause. Okay.
Well, I think this sums it up in the next paragraph.
Well, I mean, okay, well, I was going to talk about it a second and then do the next paragraph.
Okay.
However, okay. So before him summing it up, I want to say, besides, commas and periods, conjunctions are very necessary. But, what are you getting from this? What are you getting from his comparisons here?
Well, here he's making a big statement about the triunity, that there's three parts in chiropractic that are all integral and are all part of the issue. You can't, it's not no one part of it stands on its own. You need three legs for the stool to stand up.
Yeah. you can't leave out, you can't just study the heart. You've got to study the neurology with the heart, the spirit with the heart, the art of whatever they're doing. And, you have to have the spiritual components, the part that's what he's saying is left out. And the electroneuromentimograph, encephalomentipograph. That's where they're really working on measuring the life force the best that we can. The only part we can measure is the electrical impulse. You can't measure the chemical portion of it, right?
Well, he said, well, that's the electroencephaloneuromentimograph. It uses electricity to check on the brain, nerve, mental impulse function.
Yeah,
that gets graphed.
Now, I feel that's the closest to surface EMG.
Probably.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do that last paragraph right there.
All right. I have a note in the corner here for myself. Let us pause, hesitate, reflect. What does a motion picture film exposed by a motion picture X-ray reveal as to par, above par, below par, quantity flow of mental impulse or nerve force flow from brain to body? What can a motion picture film exposed by an X-ray instrument prove? Whether the abstract interference has been corrected, whether a restoration of normal quantity flow has been restored, and all in caps here. And without this information, what good has it done? And any living sick person who comes to a chiropractor to get well. In other words, apparently he's talking about video X-ray here, which I didn't know existed back then, but maybe by the time he was writing this, it did. And saying you can't see the interference on a film. It gives you information about physical component, but you can't see the interference. So without it, the information, what good has it done? If you don't have that, if you don't understand that component is necessary.
Yeah, it's necessary.
You can't tell if you fixed anything just looking at films.
That's right.
And that's an interesting thing, since orthospinology talks about the changes they get on film, and a lot of people do. And in ASPE, we talked about that, but it was a matter of changing function that allowed a lower level of interference, but it doesn't really prove that the X-ray doesn't prove it.
You can't determine nerve interference from an X-ray.
Correct.
And Gonstead says that, but it's one of the tools to help you find where you're going. And, the without the nerve component, there is no subluxation, it's just a fixation. So yeah, that means a lot right there. Well, we just did a lot just now. Will you guys have any other input? Bob, you got something? No, Carol? So
I would go that one last paragraph here. If you're thinking about stopping, I'd go that next section.
Go ahead.
Because, and then consider, because I think that last paragraph has something good in it for us.
Yeah, go for it.
20 years. For 20 years, we built, improved, and developed this typograph instrument to make a study of the triune element living factor necessary to prove chiropractic, a philosophical, scientific, and artistic unity, which did get sick people well. This was one overall united study, not physical alone, but which studied all three when applied to sick people to prove all 3 in 1 were essentially as one, presenting only one problem, not 10. And then this is it. I have this whole next paragraph marked up here. The first sentence is the biggest, I think. The fundamental and basic principle upon which all chiropractic rises or falls is that there is brain and body through which innate intelligence flows a normal, natural quantity. if its mental impulse supply from brain to body to all parts, which, if, as, and when it reaches there, will perform a normal natural health function in all parts. If this normal quantity is reduced between brain and body, innate and function, that's between brain and body, innate and function, then one only simple dis-ease in function exists at peripheries. Again, peripheries is misspelled. Wherever and whenever that quantity is diminished or reduced, so it cannot fill its quota of production of the intention of innate above. So, I mean, that says it. It says we're measuring whether the information is being transmitted from brain to body. If everything is being transmitted, the mental impulse that's sending out information is able to get through, then where it goes is going to work properly. If it can't get through, that's when you're going to have a decrease in function, and then that's the problem. You have to, that's the quantity has to be the same where it leaves and where it gets to.
Then the one and only simple dis-ease in function exists at peripheries, wherever and whenever the quantity is diminished and reduced, so it cannot fill its quota of production of the intention of innate. Yeah, I mean, inhibiting innate function.
Yeah.
You know, not in the physical. It is not a physical alone, but innate as well. Studied all three when applied to 6 people to approve all 3 in one. You know, there is, you know, I also say there's a spiritual stress, right? And, you know, 3 in 1, we're essentially as one, presenting only one problem, not 10. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of meat in that. This is the passion. You can almost feel BJ just saying, don't you hear me yet? Can't you? It's like this is like, don't you understand, chiropractor? You know, and general public really this should be maybe with a few more conjunctions and some commas. You know, the general public should read this. But yeah, I mean, this should be, you know, this is what we're really trying to do is help people understand their own power. Wouldn't you agree that they're powerful? Bob, go ahead.
Leave it written as is. It'll drive all the English teachers mad.
Nuts. It'll subluxate them like crazy. Oh,
good, then they come and get adjusted. What the hell?
Yeah, that's it. It's a marketing tool to stress out English teachers. That is absolutely hilarious. I might have to, like, you know, I'm going to use that for the rest of my life. You know that. Oh, that's great. That's really great. You know, I pretty much planned on stopping at those other marks. The second one, there was a lot in that, and I really appreciate we went through that. Thank you, Alan. There was a lot to do there. You guys have anything else? Anything you want to share or express? Well, I'm going to call it a little early tonight, okay? And I'm going to have dinner. We've been interviewing chiropractors and CAs, and I'm ready to call it an evening. All right. And this was the highlight of the day. It really was. And I appreciate you guys. Arrivederci. Have an amazing night. Goodbye, Carol and Bob and Alan. And I love and appreciate you guys.
Thank you, guys.
And I'll see you next week. All right.
I'll be here.
Good night, guys.
Good night.